have the valuation of sushi swap and different, dexes or different liquid staking protocols or protocols that look like glyph. So when we talk about those things in terms of like valuations and what they're worth in the market, we make these relative comparisons, right? So we say, like Lido has this much TVL and it's doing this much in X and this, traction stat Y. And so we can kind of compare ourselves in that way. But like that kind of just completely negates the idea of, hey, or ignores the fact that, hey, maybe like the valuations that we're tying our sales to or like anchoring our own price in, those could be off.
Right.
And so that is where things perpetuate. And this has been a rant on this question, but I'll leave it with this last thing. And I'm kind of going back and forth on this in my head. You have like you have this issue now with pro crypto people who have the ability to create regulation. It's going to be a very backwards relationship because the person who creates pro crypto regulation will inevitably create the ability to accurately value some of these crypto assets. In doing that, that will really help the industry move along further because we now have like a way to value risk and reward. We can like really look at the fundamentals of a thing and decide what it's worth. Now, in doing that, we may pop a bubble. So what a very crypto friendly or pro crypto regulator might end up doing is actually like taking a ton of market cap away from the industry in the short term and look like a villain, right? Whereas like someone who is not creating regulation, creating tons of confusion, you don't know what's going to happen next. That's a casino. So now you're perpetuating this speculation environment, and it will just take longer for those bubbles to pop, or they'll pop. It just becomes very dangerous. So yeah, it's kind of this like backwards conundrum of like the crypto friendly people may hurt crypto or cause the next winner.
Right. At least hurt crypto in the short term, I guess.
Totally. Yeah.
Hopefully if we can see past that and recover, then,
Yeah.
longer term sustainability ensues. And like, hey, there's going to be a ton of projects who are like, shoot, we've been found out. We have no like real intrinsic value, and that they'll fold. And it's you see this in other sort of. I mean, it reminds me a little of like sort of early internet businesses and things where new regulation came in, and we had a bubble pop, and we had a lot of businesses go under, and some rose to the top, and now it's the primary marketplace for commerce. So hopefully we'll get
100%. Some will survive, and the ones that have really good fundamentals will excel in that environment, right? And I think that's kind of the landscape that we want. Of course, I personally don't root for anyone to die out or anything like that, but like if you are riding on the back of a wave of speculation and you're happy without creating real fundamental value and real traction in a business, it is a ticking time bomb. Like you can't, like it may be past your lifetime. Like who knows how long these things can go hidden for, but it's I would like to see fundamentals beat, like a project that has better fundamentals than another project should be worth more in my mind than one that just has better marketing.
Right. Yeah, that's the ideal world, and it's rarely the case in reality, but we'll let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
So what do you think about like we've actually seen there's a lot of teams I talk to founding teams all the time who are like, oh yeah, we want to launch, but we're like waiting because we're talking to our lawyers and we're trying to figure because we want to do this right. So there's like a bunch of teams that have probably put off launching a token in order to make sure that they get like they're playing by the sort of like very fuzzy regulatory rules. They've put a lot of effort in. It's cost them thousands in lawyer fees. They've put a lot of work into their tokenomics. They've put things off. They're about ready to launch. If some pro crypto regulation comes in, are those teams, the ones that have put in the effort, like are they going to suffer because they were sort of like designing for a past
Mm.
regulatory regime, or do you think the work they put in is likely to pan out because like a lot of that, like again, I don't want to overuse the term speculation, but like a lot of people were speculating on how to behave in a regulatory sense.
It's all part of the same game,
You know? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
That's a
yeah.
great question. Um, you know, I don't know. I think in my head, where everyone's playing a game, like to me, it's all a game, and essentially the regulators set the rules of the game, and hopefully people obey the rules of the game. And just to be clear, like you know, we're talking a lot about U.S. regulation. I think it's important just to note, like,
Yeah, good point.
U.S. regulation is not the only regulation that matters. I think it's appropriate to use U.S. regulation as an anchor because generally, from what I've heard with other teams, is if you follow the U.S., you're generally going to be okay elsewhere. So, like that's why we're talking about the U.S. But hey, like a lot of teams that I think their strategy is we can't operate in the U.S.
Right.
It's too dangerous. Too we don't understand, and they just operate everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is um, something to just note here. But um, when when you are playing a game and you don't know the rules and you make some decisions, essentially that is taking on risk. You and then someone defines rules which you may be obeying or you may not be obeying. um, there's a very rich element of luck there, right? And so the teams that have been preparing, depending on how they've been preparing, they may benefit or they may not based on luck. Like no one can tell you right now what the regulation will look like. I mean, there people can take, again, speculation. They can make very accurate guesses, but especially with Trump in general, I think is historically hard to predict. And so I think like luck of the draw.
Yeah.
If the rules of the game are stated and you're not following them, it's not going to be great for you.
No.
And if you are and you got lucky, then hey, you just got a huge head start. And for projects that have waited and not launched, they now have an opportunity to play the game according to the rules and set themselves up in a way where they can, with more confidence, they can take bets and understand the game that they're playing. So I think ultimately, regulation helps the would be folks, and the previous folks, you either got lucky or you didn't in some way.
Right. Okay. I mean, I think that's yeah, that it's all speculation at the end of the day, even
Yeah.
in terms of speculating on what to speculate. Um,
Oh, totally. Yeah.
okay. I got one more sort of meme coiny kind of question, I think, and then, um, I think we'll be about halfway, and it'll be an opportunity to talk a little bit about Glyph and what you're doing with Glyph as well.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about I've talked with you about Glyph before, but I think you've actually got some pretty like unique perspectives on how to build a company around a product and find product market fit, and arguably Glyph has done exactly that. So we should delve into that. But before we get there,